How I update the biological age calculation made by eGym, which is available to me in my Fitness Studios app. I use a Garmin Fenix 7S Pro, and much of this data is not pulled in automatically. One could, for example, guesstimate that things like resting heart rate, blood pressure, and VO2 max could be pulled in via Garmin. I do measure blood pressure, for example, with a Garmin Index S2. Resting heart rate is calculated on the watch after measuring on the watch. VO2 max is also calculated, or rather estimated, if I hit a run that is 70% of my heart rate max, which I think for at least 10 minutes. So now what I do have to update is first of all strength. There are these smart eGym machines that are standing in my gym. There is also the option to take additional strength tests such as chest press, such as machine row wide grip, but there also are the eGym machines. One could also do a push-up max test and then get also a result, which is also then included in the biological age calculation. But there is this dichotomy between training as well as measuring. And if I go to the gym, I usually like to train. And so if I cannot turn this into a whole workout, which I already did, but then I find that usually the other workout seems to have more utility. In other words, the opportunity cost of doing a monthly measurement workout is another workout, which probably is a little bit more intense because I don't have to have my phone with me and track the reps. Therefore, for strength measurement, I am using the 6 eGym machines that are standing in my gym, and I do a 1-rep max test on a weekly basis each Saturday. This then also shows me my muscle balance as well as my muscle age for the different body parts, upper body, lower body, as well as the core. And then it again shows me these different things. For example, the eGym gym press, and it also shows me my progression over time. Therefore, if I am doing these 6 gym 1-rep max tests on a weekly basis in the gym, strength is kind of done. In terms of flexibility, there is the possibility now in my gym to record my flexibility, or to test rather my flexibility with the eGym Hub, which is a camera basically on the hub with a stick. Now, one, for example, does bend the neck to the left and right, and then it measures the angle with the camera, and then it imports it via the internet automatically into this app, which is probably the most standardized measurement in terms of flexibility I could have access to. I also tried the YMCA test or something like this, the bend forward and reach test, but the data recording is kind of flawed because I have to measure myself, and then sometimes it might be like this and sometimes like this. I do the flexibility test on a Tuesday because otherwise all of the measurements on a Saturday would accumulate and therefore I would spend too much time in the gym. On a Tuesday I do have time, and I replace the flexibility test basically with my 10 minutes of stretching after my normal workout at the gym. Because I do these tests, they accumulate, and one of these that accumulate on a Saturday is the metabolism test. So here I do only input 2 values, which I will now do. The rest is from the InBody scale from my gym. So every Saturday, once I go to the gym, I record basically a InBody test on there, and it tells me my body fat, my fat-free mass, and so on. And InBody as well as eGym in this case work together, such that I now have the data in here. But the eGym Hub, for example, cannot measure hip and waist circumference, and therefore also doesn't have access to a waist to hip ratio. Thus, I use an app called FeelFit, which right now crashes again, so I cannot really show it to you, to record waist and hip circumference as well as other circumference measurements, and then I manually input it once a week into the eGym portion of this app. Cardio age is left, so I import my resting heart rate. I used to do the yearly resting heart rate average from Garmin. But since measurements like blood pressure, first of all, don't have a weekly average, but also there is none calculated, and other measurements like grip strength are also, in my case, measured on a weekly basis, I also now switched resting heart rate to the 7-day average, because most of these measurements are basically on a weekly basis. So I take the 55, which maybe beginning from 2055 are imported automatically via the integration. I now take this and I import it by clicking on plus, and then I import my resting heart rate. For the blood pressure, I take the daily value since there is no average. This I measure daily after waking. Currently, or today, I had to recalibrate my Galaxy Watch, thus I have a couple of more readings. I am taking the 3 times reading, which was the first one, which is 126 by 83. VO2 max is left, and unfortunately it has dropped because as of recently I have not run fast enough or not with a low heart rate enough simplified. So also here I import manually the VO2 max, even though Inside Tracker, for example, is able to pull in the VO2 max estimate from Garmin. This app is not. Now the things that are missing are the flexibility test, which is next Tuesday, the 6 1-rep max test, which I do today once I arrive at the gym, and the in-body measurement, which I also do today once I arrive at the gym. There is a little bit of a conflict though with the in-body measurement, which is either for the ideal body composition measurement, I am kind of dehydrated and also maybe have not eaten, so I'm kind of in a fasted state. Whereas if I arrive to the gym for a workout, which I obviously intend to do if I go to the gym, then I'm ideally hydrated as well as not fasted. Thus, the in-body measurements and also the metabolic age probably is not that accurate because I often have already eaten and have already drink